Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSafe team bring you this production. So on the stage the other night, the big message was that we have to elect Republicans or we're not going to be safe. The montage sounded like this.
An American citizen, and you decide to join up with ISIS, we're not going to read you your Miranda rights. You're going to be treated as an enemy combatant.
We need a toughness. We need strength. We're not respected as a nation anymore.
We have to go massively like we did in the first Gulf War, where we destroyed Saddam's ability to take Kuwait. We need to have a coalition that will stand for nothing less than the total destruction of ISIS.
America is at war. Our enemy is not violent extremism. It is not some unnamed malevolent force. It is radical Islamic terrorism. ISIS and radical Islamic terrorism will face no more determined foe than I will be. We will utterly destroy them by targeting the bad guys.
Yes, we would shoot down the planes of Russian pilots if, in fact, they were stupid enough to think that this president was the same feckless weakling that the president we have in the Oval Office is right now.
Oh, it's raw meat. They can't get enough of it. So what we heard was Kurdish forces, got to get them involved, got to have a no-fly zone, got to shoot down Russian planes if they get out of line, got to go after the family members of the terrorists, and, oh, by the way, shut down the internet. Is any of this possible? Let's take it from a military standpoint. What do you have to do to institute a no-fly zone? No one better to talk about than Colonel Jack Jacobs, retired MSNBC military analyst. Colonel, good to have you with us.
Good morning, Ed.
Tell our listeners and viewers about a no-fly zone. How is that instituted? Does the United States just say, you know what, we're going to not let anybody fly in this area, and here's the map, and this is the way it is? It would seem to me that there has to be a lot of coalition, a lot of partners, and a lot of people signing off on a no-fly zone. Take us down that road.
Well, especially in that area, because there are so many actors wandering around, Russians, Iran, both on the ground and in the air. It's not just a question of clearing out a no-fly zone. It's also a question of making sure that the other guys don't launch bombs, precision-guided munitions from some great distance away outside the no-fly zone onto you or your allies. So what this is what's required here is a great deal of coordination with the other actors. Quite frankly, I think that the administration right now is working on that through John Kerry. There's one reason why John Kerry is talking to Putin. I and other people smell a deal in the making right now, and it may include a no-fly zone, but not without the concurrence of the Russians. There's just too much danger if you go ahead and institute a no-fly zone by yourself without coordination. Next thing you know, you're shooting at each other. You're not shooting at ISIS or any other bad guys. You're shooting at the Russians, and the Russians are shooting at you, and that's something to be avoided here.
You know, this is the insight that Americans need to consume. To have a flippant comment come out during a debate, well, we don't have a no-fly zone. We got to have a no-fly zone. I mean, they think it can be done in 10 minutes. It takes months of diplomacy and strategy to make sure that everybody's on the same page and understands what's going on, or it can because a no-fly zone basically is puts you on the doorstep to a possible confrontation, doesn't it?
Well, it does, and there's something else here, too. The ultimate question is, what are you trying to achieve? I've said it many times before. It was Lewis Carroll who said, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. What is it we're trying to achieve that a no-fly zone will help you get there? And you have to ask yourself the question, you don't want who to fly there? Mm-hmm. Well, certainly not ISIS. They don't have a lot of airplanes. No, what you're trying to do is coordinate activities with the other major actors in the region, particularly Russia and Syria, who have both folks in the air and on the ground. That's what this is all about. That's what it should be all about, coordination with allies and potential allies. And by the way, make no mistake about it, I think I'd be astonished if we don't make some kind of arrangement with Russia. People argue all the time about dealing with Putin and what a creep he is and so on, and all that stuff notwithstanding, we have to remember that in the Second World War, The Russians were our big allies, despite the fact that Stalin killed more Russians than the Germans did. Sometimes you have to get close to people you can't stand, odious people, in order to accomplish longer-term objectives, which is why I and other people think that there's a deal in the making over there. And that's the reason that Kerry is over there, to talk to Putin about putting a deal together.
You know, Colonel, it's a very interesting point you make in a historical perspective. Does some of that thinking play into some countries want Assad out, some countries want him to stay where he is because he's the lesser of two evils, and it might be easier to manage the region if Assad stays in power? I mean, is some of that going on?
I think that is the calculus, and I think the United States sometimes gets overtaken by its own rhetoric. We demanded that Assad leave before anything else happens, and now the administration's backtracked on that. Every time we've been involved in getting rid of, almost every time we've been involved in getting rid of odious people, the people we don't like, people whose policies we don't like, it's turned out poorly. I mean, take a look at Libya. There's no doubt about the fact that Gaddafi was a hideous human being, and I use the term human being advisedly in this case. But look at Libya now. Mm-hmm. It is really a big mess.
And the Shah of Iran. I mean, he was a bad guy, but you know, we did a lot of dealings with him, and look at Iran right now compared to then.
And we applauded on the sidelines when Mubarak was taken out. Mubarak, of all people. Mm-hmm. Now we have to be cleverer when we decide what it is we're trying to accomplish and with whom we're going to try to accomplish it.
Colonel Jack Jacobs, always great to visit. Appreciate your time today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, buddy.
You bet.